If you need a last minute gift or you want to display a micro mini quilt but you don't want to bind it or finish it, I have the perfect solution for you. These paper frames are quick and simple to make, and they're only mildly addictive. If you want to make these cute little paper frames, you're going to need a few supplies, starting with paper. Personally, I like this decorative paper that I can find at literally any craft store I've ever been to. You'll also need a ruler, a pen or pencil, paper scissors, tape or glue, and optionally, to make your life much easier, you can also get a scoring board and a paper cutter. The very first thing you need to decide is what you want to frame. So I just went searching around in my scrap bin and I found some little samples and things that I've never done anything with. They've just been living in my scrap bin. Little tests of things. This is a cutoff of a strip set I made for a Laundry Basket Quilts mystery quilt. This was a test for something I wanted to add to a quilt. You could even do novelty fabric. If there's something that's really speaking to you, you could cut out a little bit, frame it. I have some fabric that I love, but I don't know how to use, or I'm too scared to use it, so that would be a good choice. And if you're not a quilter and you don't have a bunch of scraps like these laying around, you could also use a picture or maybe a handwritten recipe. You could do embroidery. Maybe if you know how to do embroidery, that could be a fun way to make a personalized little gift or something to put on your wall, or even a child's picture. I think a kid would be really excited to have one of their drawings framed and hung up on the wall. So there's a lot of different things to choose from. If you're going to use this kind of paper that comes in a set of coordinating prints and patterns, then the largest thing you can frame is going to be 8 inches because these are pretty uniformly 12 inches by 12 inches. So gather together whatever it is that you want to frame and then pick a coordinating paper. When you're searching around for your paper, I would recommend getting one that has a lot of whites and blacks and creams. Navies are usually pretty safe. If you need some recommendations, go ahead and check out the links in the video description. Okay, if you have picked out your item to be framed and it's less than 8 inches square and you've picked out a complementary piece of paper, you're ready for the formula. And this is what you're going to use every time to make sure that you can cut down your paper to the correct size. So you're going to take the width of your item plus 4 inches and the length of your item plus 4 inches, and that's what you're going to need to cut. The 4 inches represent 2 inches here and 2 inches here, and it's the part of your paper that will be folded, will be creased and folded and become the frame. So once it's all folded and put together, your frames will be 1/2 inch wide, these frames. If you have a piece like this that you don't want to lose the points for, you're going to need to take into account the seam allowance. So if it's something like this, it doesn't really matter, right? So you can use the formula that I gave you. But if you want to keep the points, you need the modified formula. So it's the same as before, the width of your piece plus 4 inches, and then another 0.75 inches to help account for that seam allowance, okay? So if I had taken this one and cut not the modified formula, but the basic one, I would get here, I would put my piece in, and then when I fold it together, I would lose all of those points. So keep that in mind when you're deciding which formula you want to use, the basic or the modified. I used the modified one for this one so I could keep the tips of the wings. You can use a cutting board, slide cutter, whatever you want to call it, if you want to make it really easy on yourself to get those exact measurements. Or you could use a really good gridded quilting ruler. If you have a scoring board, now is the time to get it out because it'll make your life so much simpler. For my demo piece, I cut a 6 by 6 inch square, and I'm going to score on the plain side, not on the pretty side. I'm going to make sure that everything is lined up nice and neat along both edges, and then I'm going to score at 1/2 inch intervals, starting from the right and going left. I found if I start at the left, it starts to sort of shift and bend, and then I get very wonky measurements. So I would start here at 5.5 inches and score down lightly So I get a nice score, and then I'll come back and make it a little deeper. I wish I had a better camera so you could see that there is a very definite, oh there, okay, there's my scoring line. I wouldn't recommend picking it up and down though when you're actually scoring, because you don't want to get anything misaligned on accident. So I'll do 1/2 inch, then scoot over and do another 1/2 inch lightly, and then come back and reinforce that fold. 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. And when I'm doing this, I have to be very careful that I don't poke a hole in it, because I get a little overzealous sometimes and I start to use the tip and then I'll poke a hole, and I'll do it just to show you. Oh, see? If I get too exuberant, I can poke a hole very easily with this. Okay, so I've done this side, so I can move over to this side, and I'm going to start at 2 inches. So that when you get to the left, it always starts at 2 inches, but it changes every time depending on what your width and length are on this side. So I'm going to go again at 1/2 inch intervals. And depending on how thick your paper is, you might want to really, really, really make these creases nice and deep, and it'll make it easier on you in the future. So you're going to do that on all 4 sides. And if I can get a good angle here, you'll see that there's just this blank center here, and that's where my picture or quilt or whatever I'm going to do is going to go, right there in the center. So for this frame, I'm done with the scoring board, so I can set that aside. And now it is time to cut the corners. So you'll see the grid. Anywhere that there's a square, you're going to cut it out. So I'm going to cut along this line down here, and along this line here, and then same for down here. I'll cut along this line and this line. It's starting to look a little bit funny, and it's going to look different when you're making a big one, but these are pretty evenly spaced. So anyway, cutting the corners right along those lines. You can use scissors, or if you want to use a straight edge and an X-Acto knife, that would work too. And in fact, you probably get better results that way. But so far, this has been working for me. Now I'm going to take a pin and my little ruler, and I'm going to mark 1/2 inch lines on 2 of these flaps. So it'll look like this. 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. And then you're going to do the same thing on the opposite one. So you don't want to do them side by side. You want to do it on opposite flaps. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to support this channel, check out my merch shop and buy me a coffee page. Okay, let's get back to the video. So I've got my 2 flaps marked, and now I need to mark some notches. So you can eyeball this, and that's what I've mostly been doing, but you could also use a ruler. On every flap, you're going to make this sort of trapezoid shape. So it's going to go a diagonal on the one from the edge, blank, and then a diagonal down on the 3rd one. Okay? Diagonal on the edge, blank, diagonal down on the 3rd one. So you can just eyeball this. You might even just be able to take your scissors and eyeball it while you're cutting. But it's good to have a guideline too, I think. After you've made the marks, you're going to want to cut them out. So your notches will look like that. So it's just a simple cut here. Simple cut there. And then I like to fold the piece up and then cut that off. So you're going to cut out all your notches. And now the last step is to make your folds. And you could use your fingernail, but I've been making a lot of these and it has been wrecking my fingernails. So I've been using this instead, and you can get really nice tight folds that way. And I like to keep an eye on where these things are landing to make sure I'm not getting off anywhere. Pressing them crooked. And I'm going to do this on all 4 sides. Okay, so all folded. Now you want to add whatever it is that you're framing. And since I don't have a 2-inch mini quilt, I'm using a little piece of scrap paper that's going to fit right directly in there. So the way to keep your piece in place can differ by your own preference, okay? I tried originally using Elmer's glue, so I did some light lines and then I squished it all around and smoothed it out. And I actually found that it doesn't lay right. So when I use the Elmer's glue, you get this sort of misshapen, bendy sort of profile, because as it dries, I guess it like contracts or something and it doesn't dry evenly. And so I didn't get the best result with that. This one is the same thing, but not quite as obvious, I think, because it's a smaller piece. So I discovered that this dot tape, what is it called? I don't know. I call it dot tape. This works really well to keep it in place, and it doesn't cause any weird bending. See how flat that is? So I will just apply this around the perimeter. If it's a big piece, you can use your own judgment and put however much you need to keep it in place. I feel like if it has a lot of seams, it might help keep it a little bit flatter. For instance, this one has quite a lot of seams, but it's laying really flat because I have it nice and stuck down everywhere. Okay, so take my piece, I'll put it in place, really get it stuck down, and then the trick to folding it together and getting your corners to come together is to fold your notched pieces first, and then fold this piece into it, just like that. And it can get a little tricky to keep it all together. And you can see this piece would have benefited from a little bit of seam allowance so we didn't lose the tiger's face. So you'll kind of finagle it. What you could do is you could go ahead and finish these corners first. The way I've been securing the corners is with Scotch tape, specifically the gift wrap tape, because when you stick it down you can't see it. That's the fast way. If I want it really sturdy, I use some of this invisible dry glue. So this is a glued corner. What it looks like. And this is a taped corner. So you can see there's just a hint of shininess at the corner where the tape is. So if that bothers you, then go the glue route. So for these two corners, I'll show you the tape method. I take a piece, make sure the corner is lined up correctly. And then I tape like this so it doesn't come over the edge of that. Tape it down, and then I get my scissors and I'm going to cut right there. Then I'll fold down one side of the tape and then the other. So that corner is taped. I'll do the other one. Get the corner situated. Tape like so, and then cut the tape. And I try to be careful that the tape doesn't fold weird and get messed up on the back. Okay, so those are the first two corners. And then if I was doing the glue, I'll get these corners situated. It's very helpful that those other corners are finished so I can do this a little easier. And this is a little harder because of the size of this frame. It's a little bit more, not quite as bendy. Okay, so the way I would finish this with glue, so I take my glue, add the glue here and here. And then press it into place. And I've been using a piece of scrap paper to scrape away those extra beads of glue. So just go like this. And then I hold it in place until it starts to set. Let me show you the corners again on this slightly bigger piece. It's a little bit easier. So you fold down the notched one, and then you fold that corner in. Fold that corner in. It's a lot easier than the teeny tiny one. Okay, you fold that corner in. Oops, came out over here, that's fine. There we go. Fold those in, and then I can finish it however I want. The last thing you need to decide is how you want to display them. So one tried and true method that I use is a command strip. I fold it in half like this, and then I cut along that fold line, and then I make sure that the round side is going to be the side that touches the wall, because that's the part that's going to make it easy to come off. You have to pull this to get it to come off easily. So this side would go on the back of one of these. So that's option number one. Option number two is one of these little easel things. They're easy to set up, and it's really nice to be able to switch between. Like maybe you want to do seasonal ones, so it's really easy to switch between the different ones that you've made. If you're giving one of these as a gift, you might want to include an easel. I also have one of these nice narrow little shelves here that I mostly use for my rulers right above my cutting table. But it works well to display these guys too. If you're going to make one of these teeny tiny ones, you could easily make these into little ornaments by adding a loop of ribbon. So either on the back, or maybe you could poke a hole and have the ribbon come through there, or you could have it come through the corner, and then you could easily hang it up somewhere. And then the last idea I haven't actually tried, but you could probably find some magnets somewhere, or maybe use some of those free magnets that people always end up getting, and glue them on the back of these, and then you could put them on your fridge and have a fridge quilt. I bet you never considered having a fridge quilt before. And if you're willing to share pictures, I would love it if you would upload them to my YouTube community page so I could see them too. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos. And I'll see you again real soon. Bye!